Hello, today is the 8th of May 2023. Since yesterday, I'm feeling quite negative, quite depressed, and I can already say that it's not the same as it was when I actually was depressed, of course, but now, since yesterday, since something happened, I feel really much more down than I have felt in the past few weeks, and I've made videos about what was going on in the past few weeks and how I felt, but since yesterday it was like the last, drop in the bucket, and then it overflowed, and I just had a breakdown. And in the past, when I was actually depressed and I got breakdowns, it was so bad for me. I felt like I was so panicked about it. I was like, how can I do this? I can't do this anymore. It feels like I can't do it. It feels like there's nothing I can do. It feels like it's taking me over and I'm just lost. And I totally panicked while I was panicking. I had a panic attack, but then I panicked because I had a panic attack. So it was like a double panic attack or so. And I felt totally unbearable back then. And yesterday it wasn't like that. I knew I could bear it, and even while I felt this panic and this fear, and even while I cried and had the breakdown, I was still able to bear it, and I knew that I was able to. Even though there was pain inside of me, there was still an anchor, or there was still a point inside of me that was unshakable and that was totally present. And I hope and I think that that small piece of presence that I've found, I could say, I hope and think that that won't go away, because since my depressed time, and I've learned so much from that time, and since then I've learned so much, and I think I can't just suddenly lose that and it goes back to the way it was, so terrible, and that I forget everything that I learned and so on. I don't think that is possible, and I also think that this small piece of presence that is inside of me, which kind of can never be shook and kind of never goes away even when I feel really down. I think that small piece of presence just can't go away because it's so strong. And I've just found that piece. And I forgot to mention in the last video I made, that a few nights ago there was one evening where I also not really panicked, but I was in basically a bubble. It was I couldn't see or feel anything that was around me anymore, and I felt in that moment I just felt basically nothing else existed except for this fear or whatever that feeling was. And it was I was stuck in that, and I couldn't get out of it. I couldn't snap out of it and just relax again and feel what's around me, but I was stuck in that. And I felt afraid, because I was oh no, is this the sign that I'm becoming depressed again? Is this going to take me over? Will I not have control over this? And for a moment it really scared me. Yeah, until I sat down on the couch and watched a movie with my sisters. In that moment, I kind of noticed what was around me. My sisters, the movie, I noticed, okay, we're watching a movie now. And that's kind of the moment where I relaxed again, and that bubble kind of burst, I could say. But in the moment where I was in the bubble, I was totally stuck, and almost nothing else existed. And that's also what happened in my depressed time, and it was way worse in my depressed time. It was when I panicked or was stuck in a bubble, there was literally, for me, it felt like literally nothing else existed except for me and this fear. It was like nothing in the entire world existed anymore. Nothing around me existed anymore. I was so focused and so stuck in that bubble and so focused on that fear that like everything else just blacked out. And it was so scary to me because I couldn't feel myself anymore. I couldn't grab myself and be grounded, be relaxed. I was like totally stuck in there, and there was nothing I could do. And that's what panicked me even more. And then when the panic rose, I got stuck even more because I was like, oh my God, what can I do? There's nothing I can do. And I lost control, and I lost control over myself. And if you've watched a few of my other videos, you know that control is a big part of my life. And it's, a big obstacle of mine and a trauma or whatever you could or would call that. And so losing control is really scary to me. So yeah, back then it was so horrible. And even after it, when I like stopped panicking so much, it was still that it wasn't like over, because I was still so scared that it had happened and that I experienced such a moment. Whereas now, when I panicked that evening, it wasn't like that I was fully taken over and that I only, like, me and this fear existed. It wasn't fully like it was before, because in that moment a few nights ago, there was still awareness. I still had awareness of what was going on. I was aware that I was like kind of in a bubble and that I couldn't fully focus on anything or feel anything. I was aware that this fear was there and that I was there and that I was kind of stuck. Like, I was aware, and this awareness wasn't there back then. And back then I was just fully in that fear and totally stuck. There was no awareness because I was totally taken over by the fear. Whereas now, because I have this point of presence inside of me, it kind of keeps me anchored in some way. And therefore I never get fully taken over anymore. But I'm still scared that what if this point goes away and I will be fully taken over? What if it will be fully like it was before, like in the depressed time? And I just believe that it can't be like that, because I learned so much, and all this learning and the presence that I felt for many months, that's like a point inside of me that feels unshakable, and it's always there somehow. So on to what happened yesterday. So yesterday I went for a walk with our dog, Akela, and Amy and Delana went speed walking the same direction as I went for a walk. And because they were speed walking, of course, they were way faster than me. And then Akela always tried to follow them and catch up with them. And I felt like I had to keep an eye on Akela the whole time and be careful that no car is coming and that she stays near me so that I can see her and take care of her and protect her. And if there's something on the road or whatever. And so I couldn't relax at all, because I was always like trying to follow Akela and also walk faster so I'd be near Akela when anything would happen, and so on. So I wasn't able to relax, and then I got annoyed at that feeling because I wanted to enjoy my walk. And then when I noticed that, again, this is a walk that I can't enjoy, I got quite angry and frustrated, because I finally just want to enjoy my walks again. And I haven't been able to enjoy my walks for so many months now, since New Year's. And before that I was able to soak in every single moment of my walk. And then I wasn't anymore because there was always so many thoughts in my head, so many fears, and something that kept annoying me and pulling my attention to it. And so when I noticed, wow, again, this is a walk that I can enjoy, I got very frustrated and quite angry, and I was just like, oh my God. And then it also felt like I couldn't fully like control that emotion. And then because losing control again is a huge fear of mine, that emotion kind of heightened this fear emotion, or that like annoyance emotion of like, oh great, again I'm afraid of this losing control, and again this and this is happening. And it just, it kind of like built up, and it was like so annoying to me, and I was like, I just don't want this anymore. I don't want this anymore. I don't want to not enjoy my walks anymore. And they used to do me so good, and I used to feel so present when I was going for a walk, and now I'm not able to do that anymore. I don't want this anymore. I don't want this feeling anymore. And then on the way back, Amy, Alana, and we passed each other again. They were going back, and then I turned around as well with Akela. And then Amy and Alana were gone again, because of course they're speed walking, they were gone again. And then there were two animals on the road, and I'm not too sure what animals they were. They looked like cats, but I don't think they were. And they ran across the road and then jumped into the bushes. And Akela saw them, and she, of course, straight away wanted to sprint after them, because she always is excited to see animals and she wants to play with them then, or wants to see what they are and what they're doing. So she wanted to run after them, but it was like on the road, a car could have come. So it was too dangerous for me to just let her run after them. So I held onto her really tightly. I've held onto her collar really tightly. But she was so strong that like I needed all my strength to hold onto her. And she kept like fighting me and kept trying to push herself through it and like run off. So it was really exhausting for me trying to hold on to her, and I was like, Akela, stop, Akela, stay here, stop. And she just wouldn't stop. She just kept pulling and pulling. And then I told her to sit down, and she did that. And then I just held on to her while she was sitting down, and I tried to see, okay, is she relaxed now? Can we keep going? And then when I was like, okay, Akela, come, she wouldn't come. Then again, the same procedure happened. She kept pulling and pulling, and I needed all my strength to hold on to her. And I didn't know what I should do, because it was really exhausting to hold on to her, and I was so scared that something would happen if I would just let her go. I didn't know what I was supposed to do really in that situation. I didn't know what I was supposed to do at all, and she wouldn't come back with me. She kept pulling the other direction, and I wanted to continue walking. And then I wanted to grab my phone to call Mom or Amy and Alana, but then I noticed, oh, I didn't have my phone with me. It was charging at home. And then, yeah, that kind of fear rose, because I noticed, oh, I don't have the situation under control. I was losing control in that moment. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. There was no control because I couldn't do anything. All I could do was use my entire strength to hold on to Kayla. There was nothing I could do. I couldn't call someone to help me. I couldn't get Akela to walk home with me. I was just stuck there. In that moment, I was just totally stuck in that situation, needing all my strength to hold on to her, and so scared something would happen. And then in that moment, it was just too much for me. It was just too much. That was like the last drop in the bucket. And in that moment, my tears just burst out of me. I was like, Akela, please come with me, please. I begged her. I was like, please. I was in despair in that moment. I didn't know what I should do. There was nothing I could do. And then also, I was alone. I was totally alone in that moment. There was no one I could call. There was no one by my side. And there was no one, no one near me who could help me. So I was totally alone. And that is also one of my very big traumas, which is one thing that when I was depressed, the feeling alone and being lonely was like one of the biggest things in my depressed time. So in that moment, there was two traumas of mine, two very big traumas that came back. And it was like being alone, no one there to help me, no one by my side, and then losing control. And in that moment, I just fell into despair and panicked. And then when I noticed like the situation isn't even that bad, there's way worse things on this earth than that situation. It was not a bad situation. And then I beat myself up. I was like, why are you panicking about such a stupid, silly situation? And then I still realized that it isn't just that situation. It's all of these weeks and months that at that point it was just all too much and I had to let it out. And then I also noticed it's not even the situation, it's my thoughts, it's my emotions, it's my traumas that are making me react like that. Not even the situation, really. The situation is just what kind of pulled the trigger. But still, it was my thoughts and my emotions that, made me panic. And then also when I realized I was mad at Akela because she just wouldn't come with me, she wouldn't listen to me, she just wouldn't help me at all. And I noticed that I was angry at her, and then I beat myself up for being angry at her, and I was like, it's not her fault. Stop being angry at her. You're a bad person if you're so angry at her. Like, you shouldn't do that. And so I beat myself up for being a bad person, for being angry at her. And I mean, this just went on, and there was so much from my depressed time that came back in that moment. I mean, so much. And because the past weeks and months have been very hard for me, especially with my thoughts. And that was just the moment yesterday where it just overflowed and I had a breakdown. And when I went home, Mom saw that I was crying. So she hugged me and we sat down on the couch, and then I just told her about it. And I was fine somehow, because that's like this point in me that's unshakable. So somehow I was fine and I was able to bear it. But at the same time, even after I told Mom, it wasn't like I just released that fear. It was still there somehow, and afterwards, I just sat on the couch for many, many minutes just in silence and just staring down at like one spot, just kind of, I don't know, processing maybe what had happened. And that's also something in my depressed time which I always used to do. I always used to stare at the ground when I was so stuck in my thoughts. But back then, it was like I was really stuck in my thoughts, and the fear was still there so strongly, and I was still totally taken over by it, totally controlled by it. Whereas now, I did like stare at the ground, but there was this presence, this awareness again inside of me. I was aware that there's many thoughts, there's this fear, there's Mom beside me, there's the couch I'm sitting on, and I was aware, which is the difference between today and back then. Yeah, when Mom tried to come up with some solutions, and she was very nice, like she was trying to help me, of course, but in that moment I noticed that anger is rising inside of me, and I was angry at her for trying to find a solution, because that's not what I wanted. I didn't want a solution. I just wanted her to see that right now I'm panicking and I'm very scared of losing control. I'm very scared of the situation that just happened. I wanted her to just see it and not find solutions, because also all the solutions she tried to find, I just noticed, like, no, she's not getting the full picture. Like, that's not fully what I was explaining. And that the anger rose inside of me because also of my depressed time, where I felt so misunderstood by mom, and she didn't acknowledge my feelings at all. She didn't see me. She didn't see my feelings. She didn't acknowledge that. She didn't understand it. So I felt totally misunderstood, and therefore totally alone, because no one understood me. So I felt alone. I was the only one who understood. I was the only one there for myself. And that's this alone trauma that I had. And therefore the situation yesterday reminded me of the past. And then I got annoyed that this anger is building up. And then I got fearful that, oh no, is the same situation gonna happen that happened back then? Am I gonna like fight with mom because she doesn't understand me? And what is happening? So I panicked even more. And yeah, but then I was like, then awareness came back, and I noticed, oh my God, there's so much self-talk in my head, so many thoughts. And then I just noticed the couch and the pillows on the couch that were around me. And in that moment, presence came up inside of me a bit more. I was more present and therefore more calm inside myself. But it was still not gone, the problem. Yeah, and then it went on. It didn't like stop there, and there were many thoughts in my head, and there are many thoughts in my head in the past weeks. And some of the thoughts are like, what if I like won't be fine? What if this is actually showing me I am becoming depressed? What if it actually will be like it was before, that I will be fully taken over by depression, that I will be fully controlled by control, that I can't do anything about it, that what if I actually won't be okay and all of this is actually leading to something very, very bad? Like, that's a thought in my head. Then also a fear and a thought in my head is, what if I'm gonna create a fully new problem and fully new fear, which is something I also did in the past, even though it came from this control issue. I still kind of created it. And it's two things. It's the uncomfortable feeling, and it's the feeling of being watched. And the uncomfortable feeling is something I created with my thoughts, obviously, because I was like, oh no, what if that person is in love with me? What if he wants something sexual with me? What if I want something sexual with them? And like with that, I created the uncomfortable feeling, and I had no control over it. It was the control controlling me. And then this feeling of being watched, I haven't fully found out where that's from, or what it wants or what it means. But I think it's also a form of control, because whenever I feel watched, it's like I'm being controlled, because I can't fully act like myself. I can't be like fully calm and loose and everything's fine. But when I feel watched, I'm like this, like totally like, oh my God, what's happening? People are watching me, or something's watching me, and I don't act like fully normal. And I guess that's some sort of control as well, but I haven't fully found out what that is. But I created that by thinking like because I had a poster up in my room, and I was like, okay, that person on the poster is watching me. And I knew that I was choosing this because I felt so alone. And when that person was watching me, I felt less alone. So really, that's how deep I had fallen in depression. That's how deep that feeling of alone was, of being alone. That's how crazy it is. I needed, or I felt like I needed someone to watch me, because then I felt less alone. So I chose to believe that the person on the poster is watching me. And then after a while, I noticed that I'm totally stuck in that. I'm not acting like myself anymore. It's like I'm acting as if someone is watching me the entire time, and I'm not fully like fine and loose. And I'm noticing now that I'm still very scared of that, because I don't want that to come back. And I'm very scared of that to come back. Even though, while I'm noticing that feeling of being watched, there's the awareness again. Nowadays, the awareness, that's what's keeping me anchored to the present moment, and therefore I'm not fully taken over by the fear. Whereas back then, I didn't have that awareness. I was controlled by it, and I couldn't do anything about it. And that was horrible. I don't even know if words are enough to describe how that felt. I think you have to go through it yourself to actually know what it feels like and how horrible it is. And I'm not trying to say I went through the most horrible thing ever, because I know there's way worse things on earth than that. But it was really, really horrible for me. And because of like losing control, and because of feeling alone, like that's two of huge like traumas of mine. So how it went on then, yesterday evening, was that I noticed the entire time that something wasn't letting me go. There was something around me or inside of me the entire time which was not like letting me go, and that thing, whatever it was, came from the situation that had happened, the situation with Akela and me having a breakdown, and something just didn't let me go. And I think it was a fear, because when I felt my inner body, it was like totally shaking with fear. There was a lot of fear inside of myself, because whenever you feel your inner body, you can feel what emotion you have or what thoughts are in your head. And so whenever I put the attention inside my inner body, it was like loaded up with fear. So I think that was what wasn't letting me go, what wasn't like letting me relax and be in the present moment. It was as if I was like stagnated the whole time, and something was holding on to me, like I couldn't just let loose. And I had thoughts that like, be compassionate with yourself. This is just still from the situation that just happened. Like, it can't just go away from one second to the next. Like, it was a bigger deal for you. Like, you had a breakdown, so of course there's still things you can feel in your body which isn't quite normal. And I was still not able to be fine with that, because I was scared that, does this mean I'm actually becoming depressed? Does this mean it's gonna be really, really bad from now on? And then I tried to surrender, which, looking back now, I didn't, of course, fully surrender because I was scared. And then I tried so many things that I learned to do in such situations, but none of them worked. And then I got really frustrated and scared that none of them work. Like, nothing is working. And then I thought of what Eckhart Tolle said, like with surrender and with observing your thoughts, observing your emotions, feeling your inner body. I tried to do all of that, and then somehow it didn't work. This fear kept pulling me back and kept pulling me back and taking my attention. And then at some point it got so frustrating to me, and I became so fearful that I was like, oh, this is probably just all a lie. Like, for a second there, I didn't believe in that spiritual stuff anymore. I didn't believe in what Eckhart Tolle said. I didn't believe in anything that I learned. I didn't believe in my angels and God being there, because in that moment nothing helped me, and I was like, there's no one here, nothing's helping me. So for a second I was like totally in frustration, and that scared me as well, because that's something that also happened when I was depressed. It was like I kept believing God is there, my angels, my guides are there, because I felt so alone. I kept hoping at least they are there to be there for me. And then I always tried to see them. I always wanted to see them, so I know they are there. I kept wishing for months and months that one of them would just show themselves, so I wouldn't be so alone, or that one of them would talk to me, or that I could go out of body and talk to them. I kept wishing that, and then I kept feeling more and more alone, and I became more and more depressed, and everything got worse. So then at some point I was like, they're not there. I don't believe in them anymore. They're not helping me. If they were there, then they would show themselves, because they would see how much I need them. And I like totally stopped believing in them. And that lasted for a longer time, where I just didn't believe in them anymore. I was like, they're not there. They're not helping me. I'm totally alone, and they're not even showing themselves. Whereas now, again, I had the awareness which kept me anchored. And the awareness also was so deep inside of me, and this deep inside of me just knew they are there. And if they're not showing themselves, that's because you don't actually need them. You don't actually need them to show themselves. And they're not, in that moment, it's not supposed to be. They're not supposed to show themselves. So I knew that, but just for a moment there, I was like, what if it's all a lie? What if, like, Eckhart Tolle is saying all these things, but what if that's just like fantasy? What if he's just believing in something and that's not even true? What if actually all problems are real? What if all of them are real and not what Eckhart Tolle says? What if what Eckhart Tolle says is just the same as like problems? It's just something we believe in. Like, what is real? For a moment there, I was like, is anything even real? Like, what if this enlightenment is just a belief? Like, what if it's not even real? What if... And then I was like, yeah, what if all problems are real? And then I noticed my thoughts were like, no, obviously not. Problems are actually just illusions, because you can solve them, first of all. And second of all, they're there, then they go. They're not like constant. Whereas presence is constant. There's always the present moment. So I knew that, but at the same time I was like, yeah, but what's the proof that problems aren't real? Like, what if they are actually all real? What if that is real? And that panicked me. So all of that went on, and there was nothing I could do about it. I didn't have control, and so it scared me even more, because I didn't have control. And again, no one else could really help me, so I was alone. But this alone feeling didn't hurt me or scare me as much as the losing control in that moment. And so because these thoughts were such a huge pile, and because there was so much fear in my body, such a tension in my body, so much energy because every single thought has a different energy. Every single emotion has a different energy. Every single person has a different energy. Every single thing has a different energy. And I felt all of that. So everything together was so much that there was nothing I could do. There was absolutely nothing I could do, and I was stuck. I was stuck in that huge amount of energy that I couldn't feel what was around me anymore. I couldn't enjoy who was with me, what was with me. I couldn't feel myself anymore. I was like in a different world. It was as if I wasn't here anymore, as if I wasn't fully alive anymore. It was like I was somewhere else, somewhere stuck somewhere else, not here. Because that's what unconsciousness is. That's what thoughts are. It's imaginary. Thoughts create a world for themselves. They create an imaginary world which isn't real. And when you're stuck in that imaginary world, then you're unconscious because you're not actually in the world that you are in anymore. So, like I said, it was all so overwhelming that I was fully stuck in an imaginary world, in a world that my thoughts build up. And because I was stuck in that, I wasn't fully here anymore. I wasn't fully present anymore. I couldn't, like I said, feel anything, enjoy anything anymore. I was stuck in an imaginary world. And there was nothing I could do about it. And I can't even describe what it felt like. Like, I can still feel it in my body. It's just like you're not grounded at all, and there's so much like heat because all of that is like overwhelming. There's so much. So you're like, your body's like hot inside and out, and then there's fear inside your whole body, like as if it's like shivering somehow, but inside your body. And then there's these thoughts that are like pulling your attention fully to them. Like your whole attention is in those thoughts, and you're like in the thoughts. So you're not here anymore at all in this moment. And because I was so scared and sad, the neighbor's cat often comes to our house in the evening because she knows that I'll go outside and pet her. So whenever she's here, the neighbor's cat, then I pet her, and she like rolls up on my lap, and I love, being with her. And then because I was so sad and the neighbor's cat was there, and Mom allowed me to take her inside into my room. So then I sat here, and she rolled up on my lap, and she fell asleep on me and was so peaceful, and I just stroked her and she was there. And then I kept crying because I noticed I'm not able to enjoy her. I'm not able to feel her because I'm stuck. I'm stuck somewhere where I'm actually not. Because I am here, but I was stuck somewhere where I'm actually not. I kept crying because I was scared that I'm actually becoming depressed. I was scared because I couldn't do anything. I was scared because I really wanted to enjoy the cat being there because I love her company. And I couldn't feel her. I couldn't fully notice that she was actually with me in that moment. And when I had to let her go again, it was quite painful. I was really scared to let her go. It was as if like I'm never gonna see her again, as if I actually have to like say goodbye to someone I love. It was like painful, and it was so weird to me that I was feeling that pain. And I knew that I'm feeling this pain because I'm stuck in my thoughts, and my thoughts are what create pain. Nothing else actually creates pain except for thoughts. So, and because I was stuck in thoughts, this pain was created, and it felt really painful to have to let her go. And I was so sad because I wanted her to be there, and I was so beating myself up so much because I couldn't enjoy her company. Even though she was with me, I couldn't enjoy it. So I beat myself up for that, and that was more painful. And back then, in my depressed time, when everything overwhelmed me, I was gone. There was nothing I could do. I was so gone, fully gone in that imaginary world. I was totally gone. Whereas now, I wasn't fully gone because of awareness, because of that point inside of me, that presence point, that unshakable point. And the awareness, because I was aware of what's happening, I was totally aware of everything that was happening. That's why I wasn't fully gone. But I was still gone quite a lot, but not fully. And to be honest, that experience that I had, first of all, is a totally different one. I never experienced it like that, the way I did yesterday. And second of all, that experience is just, it's crazy somehow. It's it's surreal. I remember in the past, I was always did that actually just happen? I couldn't believe something like that actually happened. It felt so surreal to me. I was did this happen? Is this just a dream? Is this actually happening? Is this actually real? I couldn't believe it. Whereas now, right now in this moment, I think because of the awareness, it didn't feel fully surreal because I wasn't fully gone. But I just have to say, when I went to bed, there was almost no presence inside of me. When I woke up this morning, there was sadness inside of me, a lot of fear inside of me. And there were moments today where I did feel more presence. I did feel like Akela, for example, she's right here beside me, and I can kind of feel her a bit more than I was able to yesterday. But at the same time, for many weeks now, there has been no moment where I was fully present, fully, where no thoughts were there and I was just totally relaxed and totally peaceful within myself. There hasn't been a moment like that for so long now. There's always some fear inside of me. And obviously I have to become more and more aware of that until it'll go away. But right now I don't know exactly what I should do and what I should say. Because I'm not fully here in this world. I'm somehow half in my thought world, the imaginary world, and I'm half here. That's why I can't be fully present, but also I'm not fully taken over. It's very weird and I'm very scared. And I'm very scared that I'm making this video and that maybe in the next few days I'm gonna make another video where I'm gonna say it got worse and that actually something else happened, where now in this moment that something else hasn't happened yet. But then in the next video I'm gonna make, maybe that something else did happen. It's very weird. And there's fear constantly inside of me. Constantly. And I can't enjoy anything anymore. And it's not that I can't enjoy it at all. It's just that I can't enjoy anything fully anymore. I still wouldn't change anything. I love my life situation, basically. I love what I have here. I love the work that I'm allowed to do. I love that I have my lovely dog. I love that I'm allowed to go for a walk across the fields here. I love that I have this room, that I have this house, that I have the family that I have. I love that, like, I love that I'm alive. I love that I have a life. And that I love that I am life. Like, I wouldn't change any of that. But still, I'm not able to enjoy anything fully because there's no full presence. You need presence in order to enjoy something. And that's not there. Like, I really just have to see how it continues, just have to try to surrender. Like, the frustrating part is, I mean, if I would be able to surrender, that would be good. If I'd be able to do one thing, like, it would be great. But it feels like I can't do anything, even though surrender is a choice you have to make. And I'm gonna try to like make that choice, but often my thoughts hold me back. We'll just have to see. And like, I'm beating myself up that I'm not enjoying what I have, because what I have really is like perfect. Someone else would say like, you have a lovely life, like this is amazing. And that's why I'm beating myself up, because I know it could be so much worse. I know, like, we could be homeless, someone could be ill, like war could be in our country, we could be totally unsafe. Like, I know it could be so much worse. And that's why I'm beating myself up when I'm not appreciating and enjoying what I have. But again, appreciation and joy come from a deep present state. So I have to stop beating myself up, because the way it is the way it is, and there's nothing I can do about that. As in, like, I can't change the present moment. What is right now is the way it is, so I just have to accept it. And whatever I can change, of course, I will change, and I will try to change. Yeah. Anyway, it's a lot, and I cry so often because I feel so unsafe. Like, thoughts, like, it feels so unsafe, as if like I'm not safe, as if I'm just gonna freak out and be scared and fall into depression, and this uncomfortable feeling might come back, and so on and so on. It feels like I'm so unsafe, and it's just scary. Even though I know the present moment is the safest thing you can have. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and until the next time. Bye.